It is time for episode/interview number 9. TooMuchCamber. I just go Cam because I like Cam. Everything NASCAR, everything football, everything, right? You're on shows every single day. We are in the same Cowboys fan group, Twitter chat group. And Aidan, you think like our Birds vs. Boys chat group goes off? This thing, I wake up in the morning and it literally says like 421 messages. I'm like, what
oh
just
my
happened?
Goodness.
Oh yeah, it's wild. It's awesome. So Cam, how are you? Welcome to Birds vs. Boys.
I'm great. Thanks for having me on. And, big week besides the holiday, everybody's talking about saying that this is the game of the season so far. So it's here. So it's on.
It is on. And I think we obviously know that because of what we see on Twitter too. So I would like to, I always check your Twitter feed because I'm like, all right, I feel like I can get a vibe of what's going on in
realistic
Cowboys Nation. Yes, a realistic vibe. So what do you think the realistic vibe is of Cowboys Nation? Then what do you think overall the vibe is right now coming off this loss going into this huge Eagles game?
So the realistic vibe is that, first of all, the irony of that the first time that we met, we didn't have Dak Prescott. And now we're looking at that we're not going to have Jalen Hurts. So I think the realistic vibe is that the normal people, that I like to call them in the Twitterverse, are looking at how this affects both teams, how it's going to affect the offense specifically for you guys, but then also looking at the injuries on the defensive side that we actually have and how we're going to compensate for them. That other side of Twitter, and I'm going to tell you right now, I promised myself at the beginning of the year that I wouldn't mess with. I have a handful of Eagle fans that I really appreciate and I love, and that I promised myself I wasn't messing with them this year because it's just, you know what? Both our fan bases have this huge toxic side to them, and they're unrealistic. And I just gifted myself the season of grace, not dealing with them.
And have you're actually holding to it for the most part?
I absolutely have.
Yeah, good for you, because it seems impossible sometimes not to get into the mud.
It does. I just kind of skirt my way around and I'm gone. So yeah.
It is hard because like I had one guy writing something about it. He's like, well, if the Cowgirls actually make the playoffs, and I'm like, well, they clinched. They clinched on Sunday. He's like, you don't play on Sunday, you play on Saturday. I'm like, no, they clinched on last Sunday. It's just like, it's just you have to just kind of.
Well, and not only that, but our fan base is just as bad, even towards our own team. They're like, oh, we backed into the playoffs. I'm like, we're 10-4. How do you back into the playoffs when you're 10-4? So I'm sure you guys probably experience it with the Eagles also, but yeah. And
that's why
I've gotten. Oh, I'm sorry. No, go ahead.
No, go. No, go.
I've actually gotten slammed, and I've gotten slammed even on our shows that, I'm not going to lie. The Eagles team to me is the most whole, complete team in the NFL right now. And you would have thought I kicked their dog.
That's what I hate. Like, why can't you be realistic and objective? Just because it's the Eagles and we don't like them and they're our rival. And same thing for you, Aidan. I think you would agree with this because you are a pretty logical person. Like, why can't you just admit when a team is good?
Right. I have to deal with the Niners right now too, and I can't stand them either. So
they're scary.
They're scary. They really scare me. I mean, who thought Purdy was going to come out Mr. Irrelevant and actually do something?
Steady Eddie, it seems like he's just I feel steady like I hand right now.
More than Jimmy G at this point too.
Well, yeah, absolutely. And I think it's a really good point because I think some people are trying to discredit Gardner Minshew at this point in time. But then you have to understand that Gardner Minshew is practicing against one of the best defenses in the league. Same thing with Purdy. He's been practicing against one of the best defenses in the league.
Yep.
And I think Cooper Rush had that same kind of benefit also. So to discredit them right away is just kind of.
Doesn't make sense to me.
No.
Gotta let it play out.
Especially a guy like Gardner Minshew, who we've actually seen win in this league, right? And we saw what he did with the Eagles last year against the Jets. So I think he's going to be very formidable, unfortunately. And so speaking of Gardner Minshew and the Eagles offense, and you already mentioned the injuries that we have on defense, and that particularly started with CB2, right? When Anthony Brown went down and everybody was crying all year about Anthony Brown. He's the worst quarterback in the league. And now he's down, and we kind of see that, okay, maybe he gives up one play a game, but beyond that, he's pretty steady. So what is your plan for cornerback too, because we've talked about this in the group, and I think you.
So yeah, absolutely. If I could have Anthony Brown back right now, I absolutely would have. If we want to go back into the Wayback Machine, I never would have let Byron Jones go, because Byron Jones and Tyron Diggs, having them both back there, would have just made my defensive heart happy. What I'm doing at this point in time, so Nahshon Wright was not awful by any means. He was targeted for 6 times, 31 yards, had 4 tackles, was not a bad performance. I don't know, but Izzy Makamu, I mean, I gotta give the guy a shot. This is where he used to play. This is another situation that is a Byron Jones situation, that the Cowboys have taken a corner and tried to make him into a safety. Izzy doesn't complete tackles really well, absolutely, which isn't as important when you're in corner as it is as a safety. So I'm saying put Izzy out there and see how it works. If you have to switch them between the two, I don't know, if you're looking more, if it's in a NASCAR package or it's a 4-3 or what's going to go on, but you use a combination of the two, but you've got to give Izzy that shot. And I'm going to halfway be sick and halfway happy if we've had CB2 sitting as a safety the whole time and he actually could have been there. But I'm definitely, I've got to have Diggs shadow AJ Brown. He is fantastic against big bodied wide receivers. I don't want him on Devontae and that speed and shiftiness.
Nope.
So I don't know if you're going to use a combination of Brown of Bland and Izzy and Nahshon Wright in that situation. AJ Brown's
scary.
And I'm fairly certain that the Eagles defensive coordinators had that CB2 circled the entire time, going, okay, this is their Achilles heel. This is where we're going to attack, and this is what we're going to go after on that.
Aidan, that's what you guys do, right? Attack weaknesses.
I was about to say, yeah, I feel like especially with a quarterback who you're going to try to get the ball out of his hands quickly, it's like, all right, who can we attack the quickest? So I feel like they'll take some shots there. On the offensive side of the ball for the Cowboys, I will say this as an Eagles fan. I would love it if our former players turned analysts didn't go on national TV and say Dak is ass on a national TV program. That would be great. But like taking the barometer of Dak Prescott from a fan's point of view, what's like the confidence level in him right
now? Dak is that guy, and people want to say like that he's ass or whatever, but you've got to look at that in that game against Houston, when it came down to it, he marched that ball down the field. This last game, there is nothing that Dak Prescott could have done in that throw to Noah Brown to have made it any better. That was 100% on Noah Brown. He did everything we needed to. We were within 6 yards of Maher's field goal range. So I've got ultimate confidence in Dak Prescott. There are times that I don't think that he's reading the field properly and that he's not breaking down that defense and that he does check down quite a bit. But part of the reason he's checking down is because of this wide receiver core. And, as of right now, if your name's not Lamb, Gallup, or Noah Brown, it's like a total of 59 yards that have been caught. And Simi Fehoko has 24 of those, and he's been out since game 3. He's been out since game 3. So I'm really looking for T.Y. Hilton to be that comfort that that Dak's going to need. Elite route running ability. He may not have that speed, but I still think he can get the separation that Gallup's not doing right now because of mental and physically what's going on. So I love that there's a new target on the field that the defense is going to have to attest for. And I think that's going to open up the game. What we saw in Jacksonville, that CD was doubled and triple teamed at time. And that's going to take some of that off of them, I think.
And I would think, I see if you agree. I think that was Dak's best half of the season in the first half. He was lights out. That touchdown pass to Peyton Hendershot, I think, was his best throw of the year. So for everybody to just turn around and look at just stat look, right, and see the last play and see that he threw 2 interceptions and not realize that it was Noah Brown's complete fault and the other interception, his arm was hit. It's just, he's such an easy target, I feel like, these days for even our own fan base.
Right. Oh yeah, I saw that Cooper Rush was trending after the game, and I was like, y'all, why are we
That's-
Oh,
doing
man.
this again? You know,
That's when
every
it's
time
time to
Dak
log
messes
off.
up, it's like, oh, Cooper Rush time, and I'm like, they forget that it was our defense that got us through those games that Dak was out,
Mhm.
and that they had. And here's the difference. What I think is going to big time happen is I don't see that the Eagles are going to have to adjust their offense that much with Minshew coming in. I got to see Minshew play a lot in college just because I am a Husky and he went to
Mhm.
Wazoo.
Oh,
So yeah, you know, if he could go to two teams that I didn't ever want him to go to, he did it.
he found
That's
his way.
perfect.
He found his way. But you like the guy. You gotta like the guy. I mean,
Yes.
Oh,
he's
yeah.
hard not to. He's that
Yep.
personality that they need. But I don't see I don't see you guys running as many RPOs as you normally do.
No.
There is going to have to be some adjustments because I mean Hurts is your second best running back, basically. You know, and he scored more touchdowns than anybody on your team. So there's going to have to be some adjustments there. I still feel like they're going to probably do what everybody has figured out is the formula against our pass rush is that quick release ball.
Yep.
And there's going to have to be a way for us to find a way to get around it. Hopefully we get Dorrance Armstrong back, but and the pass rush showing its weakness or having some weaknesses has exposed our secondary
Yep.
even more in that way. So
And the linebackers as well. unfortunately.
yeah. Oh, and that's another thing going back to our fan base. They keep wanting to like lump LVE and Jalen Smith into the same person, and they absolutely aren't.
No.
And this last game, you saw exactly how important Leighton Vander Esch was to this team. He is, and I've said it multiple times, he is the quarterback of this
Yep.
defense because he is the one that is there. He's setting that defensive line. He's communicating to everybody, and that's going to hurt. So, Jabril Cox, you better show us what you're
Yep.
made of this week.
Yep. And we saw because he's the only linebacker that we have that has true eye discipline. When that eye candy comes and the Eagles throw a lot of eye candy, the linebackers we have are like, ooh, squirrel. And they just jump to it and then they bring it back the other way. So that's what I'm a little nervous about as well this week.
Right.
But
And Dallas Goedert being back is huge for, so, within the linebackers and our safeties, we need to have Malik Hooker have, a really good game with that
Yep.
going on.
Yep. 100%.
Yeah, because of the injuries, it almost becomes like a chess match with the coaches. So we'll see what the game plan is from both sides on Sunday or on Saturday, I guess I should say. Now, I know on Twitter in your bio it says you are NASCAR know-it-all. So let's do this.
All right.
Is there like an event or a spectacle in NASCAR that kind of compares to this space of the Eagles Cowboys rivalry? Like, what's the closest NASCAR event to this?
Okay, so we actually considered the Daytona 500 our Super Bowl, and that happens at the very beginning of the year, which is kind of weird that in that way. So I'm not going to say it's in that, it's that race. I'm going to say it's more Bristol Motor Speedway,
Small.
Yeah, half-mile track, high banked, huge emotions. I mean, we've seen fights, we've seen people wreck each other, and they are not friends when they're on that track. So I'd say it's Bristol.
That sounds perfect.
Yeah.
Right?
Is there a rivalry right now between two drivers in NASCAR that kind of is similar to this rivalry?
Yeah, there's quite a few, right? Well, everybody has been hating either Ross Chastain, who had one. I don't know if you guys saw it. It was one of the most insane things in the world, and it happened. Yeah, when he came out and he hit the wall and rode the wall, and it actually put him into the championship race at the end. So a lot of people are hating on him. Right now, you could name like Denny Hamlin versus Joey Logano. Right now is a pretty big rivalry. You can throw Kyle Larson into that with Logano, and you could probably just say a whole list of drivers in either Ross Chastain or Joey Logano at this point.
They seem to be the lightning bolts of it.
Yeah,
That's funny.
they are. Yeah.
He finds a loophole in the system, runs it, wins with it, and now everybody hates him for it.
Yeah. Well,
it was dangerous though, right?
Well, on a short track, not as much. But here's the thing: there's two different things. You never want to do it on one of the super speedways or in the intermediate tracks because you're carrying probably 180 miles per hour into those corners. And so, but he could have taken out one of the guys that were vying to get into that championship race also. And so he could have just ruined somebody else's season with it. So it was spectacular. Everybody thought it was great, but at the same time, people were like, okay, well, that's a $300,000 car. And, you know, and you could have ruined everybody else's time. But
well, where there's if you ain't, what is it? If you ain't cheating, you ain't trying, even though that's technically not cheating, I guess. But all right, so back to football. We talked about the CB2 position. We talked about how the defense gave up 500 yards last week. And then we talked about Dak Prescott, but the offense, you know, couldn't get it done to end the game in regulation, and then couldn't get it done to drive down the field to win the game. So who do you think needs to respond more in this game? Is it more the offense? Is it the defense? Or do you think they both need to come out and have big games to respond?
They both absolutely have to come out and do it. Dan Quinn, I need my backwards hat daddy, Dan Quinn, to work some magic and really, you know, get some things. I'm looking for Neville Gallimore has got to step up in that center. You know, losing Hankins was huge. Hankins really filled that gigantic hole that we had in our run defense, and having him and LVE gone, really need to see something out of Osa, Neville Gallimore. The offensive side, they've got to. Our pass pro has got to get better. And honestly, I know that, and here's another thing about our fan base. I know that they're all, you know, Tyler Smith, our first round pick. He's horrible in pass pro. He's awful in it. And that McGovern being in there at left guard, I know he's a Philbin guy, but I'm just feeling like for a lot of the situations, you've got to slide Tyler Smith in, and you're going to have to put Jason Peters on that side, because I'm leaving that other side alone. And I don't care what team you are. If you look up and you see Zach Martin and you're seeing Tyron Smith standing next to each other for the first time ever, you need to worry on this side. So, I need that pass pro to really step up so that we've got that other element of the game.
Aidan, does that make you salivate a little bit? You think with Hassan Reddick and that pass rush?
So that's the thing. It's like a whack-a-mole situation where, like, Zach Martin, Tyron Smith, just two, I think it's safe to say, future Hall of Famers. Yes. I've watched Jason Peters enough to know I know what side I'm trying to attack. Listen, he was great, and just like at his age, I know where we'll probably try to attack going back to that chess match that we'll see because of the injuries. All right, last question. And we've been trying to gauge this with all of the interviews that we've done this week. So if you could, in a few sentences, tell us what the Eagles Cowboys rivalry means to you.
Oh, this is a game that it's always you want to win. You always want to beat down this other team, and you want to beat them down bad. I mean, you go back to the whole, you know, oh, your 5 Super Bowls were so long ago. Were you even alive? Blah, blah, blah. And then we're like, well, it took you that long to get one, you know? So, but I have family in that area, and I have Giants and Eagles fans in my family. Like, my cousin isn't even talking to her child right now because he's an Eagles fan and he's been horrible all season. But this game it always tastes a little bit sweeter if we can hand the Eagles a L. So
means everything. Means everything in football. That's what that means.
Yeah.
Even in a week like this, where it's like we're kind of almost both locked into our playoff positions at the same time. No. Still want to win really badly.
Right. Yeah. It's a pride thing at this point in time.
So it's the Twitter Bowl. I've named it the Twitter Bowl because I think these two fan bases are the most vocal on Twitter, and it's just we're going to make a little. Aidan and I are going to make a little trophy, and we're going to send it around to our fellow followers of whatever fan base wins it. Everybody gets it for a week. It's like the Stanley Cup.
Perfect.
All right, Kim, let everybody know how they can follow you on Twitter, when they can listen to the shows, all the good stuff.
Yeah, you can find me on Twitter at TOO_MuchCamber. I'm on Pick Six Sports. I'm on Tuesdays with Stevie J with Midday Due Diligence. And then Thursdays, I'm on with Mass, with Midday with Cam and Mass. And you can catch me on Freestyle Fridays on Friday evening. And Nick's running his marathon spaces that he runs.
Mm-hmm.
I jump in occasionally. Sometimes I have to dodge out because after 4 hours, I got to get my beauty sleep. But you can always find me there.
Cam, we appreciate it. And when these two teams are playing again in the playoffs, we're going to have you back. We appreciate it.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.